Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. It is the 28th of June, year 2023. Summer has started here in the Northern Hemisphere, so I'm sure it is cold in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'm hoping everyone is having a warm summer, enjoying the swimming and all the water activities. Let me get started with our panel. We welcome April back. She's back, and giving April an introduction. I'm positive everybody knows who April is. She's a psychic, a medium. She has quite a few modalities of healing. She actually does counseling services as a professional work, and as well as she's available one-on-one. If you'll want to message her and get some advice, you can message and ask her. Then we have Michelle, who is part of a core group of meditators. Welcoming Michelle back after a few weeks. Thank you for joining us, Michelle. In a new place. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then we have Patricia, who's part of a core group of meditators as well. So let me see if I can pull up this question. So I don't know if you watched the there was a tip a couple of days back, April. I was talking about the violations that I had as a child, and I was kind of like saying why they should have happened exactly how they should, right? So Danielle posted this question. Let me okay, it's saying the message is too long, so let me try to copy half of it and then the other half that went through. It's pretty long. So she says, hi Poonam, thank you for openly testifying on this. So in there, I combine what I've known from Byron Katie. If anybody watches Loving What Is, actually not so much as watch, I listened to the audiobook of Loving What Is. And what Byron Katie did was, instead of having it in book format, she actually did the workshop format in the audiobook. So you can actually see her talk to this woman, young woman, and it is like towards the end of the book. It almost is like probably the last workshop she does in that book. She's talking to this woman who has a sexual relationship with her father has abused her sexually when she was a little kid. And so Byron Katie in there says, the most incredible part about it was she takes her into the compassion for the father, where she says, look into his eyes, look into the powerlessness in his eyes. Look how powerless he is, right? So she kind of like brings the compassion out into the woman for her father. Then the last thing she says is, and you liked it. And the liked it was that she was showered with gifts, like for her birthday or something. She was showered with gifts during that event. And the girl, like, she really got emotional, and she realized that is what it is, that she kept for approval, right? For getting that love. She mistook that love to be this love. So I was explaining all that in that video tip number 51. And then Danielle asked this question. She said, thank you for openly testifying on this delicate topic. Another belief that came to mind, and I wonder if you considered having had that belief as well, as the belief I'm unprotected as you grew up, feeling unloved by your mom, as your father who's of all people, the one supposed to protect you from any perpetrator who was around. This could also be a belief of many unprotected children and women in areas where there is also literally there is simply no protection. And this knowing I am unprotected and what it subconsciously creates then attracts perpetrators. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, April, and I'm so grateful that you actually joined today. I think I've asked you this question before. Why do you think this dynamic rises where a father abuses? Have you come across any clients that the father abuses a boy child or a girl child? And why does that happen? And I have my own interpretation of why does that happen. And if you, after that, if you want to answer the question, and I'll tag everyone on Facebook while you're answering. Thank you.
So I have seen this, I can't even count how many times in my profession, especially since I deal with uh, substance abuse. In substance abuse, it has three, well, there's numerous causes, but there's three main causes. You guys have to excuse me, the smoke here is really bad. So my head and my throat, everything's all like congested up. Um, So when I was getting my master's, when you go to college, they make you do like countless 20-page papers, 25 page. It's so crazy. So one of the things I chose to do was to figure out, why do some people become addicts and why do other people not? And because most teenagers try drugs, most, not all. But why do some become an addict and others don't? And there was factors that were involved, and one was it ran in their family, so it was biological. They had a predisposition biologically to it. The next one was that they had some sort of mental health issue, depression, anxiety, bipolar, etc. And the third one was they had some sort of neglect, abuse, or trauma. And if you had all three, then you were really high risk. None of them were a guarantee for substance abuse. However, it just puts you at high risk. So it's something that I see quite often, because most of us don't actually, one, we're a child, we don't know how to deal with the trauma. And then instead of dealing with it as we get older, we run from it. And one of the ways to run from it is through substance abuse. So I've seen this so many times. And my idea of this is, when you, in sexual abuse is so unbelievably common, it is so prevalent, and you can take one side of it. You either identify with the victim side, and if you identify with the victim side and all the pain that it created for you, those are the people that normally do not do it to others. Then there's another side where the pain is so extreme and so deep, and then it's also coupled with anger. Not that the other side doesn't have anger. And the only way that they can figure out how to cope with the pain is they then do that act to somebody else. It doesn't make it okay, but that's why it happens. It's their way of trying to figure that out. And sometimes I have found that it's actually their way of connecting with their inner child that's broken. And again, I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just giving you like the mental process that happens with these people. So either way, both people are wounded, whether you are a victim of it and you do not perpetuate it, or you are. Our abusers have been abused, period. Unless they are born with serious mental illness, which that's happened, but it's, they're abused. That's why they abuse. And they also lose so much control and are so helpless. It is a way for them to gain control. The other thing is that there are some people that, because they're so young and it's different per mind, that it actually, their brain gets wired wrong. So they don't see they are attracted to the wrong age. It's a wiring thing that happens. Again, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying these are why these things happen. We've also found the opposite. So if somebody has been molested, they would be 20 but be attracted to 60-year-olds, which is, it's a wiring issue because they're so young and the brain is so delicate at that time. And it's the only thing that kind of feels right or makes sense to them because of what they've experienced. So almost every time that this happens, from everybody that I've worked for, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Been doing counseling for 16 years, been doing the spiritual work for 22 some years. So I've seen this. There is always a sense of being unprotected. And it can be either way. It can be with mom, it can be with dad, whether mom didn't protect me or dad didn't protect me. And there's a lot of times where we have to actually work through, they're angry at mom because mom didn't protect them. You know, they're angry that mom wasn't more aware or wasn't more attentive. So the I am unprotected absolutely is a factor. And then that usually gives them that sense of being like alone in the world, of also that source or God is not there for them, that God isn't going to protect them, that bad things are going to happen to them. So it does start this whole process of shadow work and dark night of the soul. None of those beliefs are true, but those are all the beliefs that come with it. Because again, the child's mind is not capable of projecting out and considering the whole story. The child takes everything inward. So it is not because my dad is sick or my mom is sick. It is because I am bad and nobody's there for me. So it always gets turned inward into an inner belief, which is an inner belief of not being worthy, not being loved, that kind of stuff.
Summer is asking April that are they attracted to older age because they grew up without that parent?
No. Most people who are attracted to older people, it is because of molestation or sexual abuse. Most people, it's nothing is 100%, but most people, that is what I have found. And I can just say that from the work that I do, that's what I have found. And it actually goes either way. The only other scenario for that would be like if I've had it where a client had a really bad relationship with their mom, but they had a really good relationship with their dad. And their dad was, so the mom was like the abuser, the dad was the supporter, but the dad was older. So then they were attracted to older men. Now it wasn't, mom wasn't abusing them sexually or physically, it was more mental, emotional. But they then were searching for that supportive male figure. Oh,
You're incredibly amazing. Thank you so much, April, for your wisdom and guidance. So one thing that you pointed out, right, that even I felt that the daughter or the son can have, like, if the father is the abuser, they can have an anger towards the mother. Why is it that the mother, I would think that the wife, right, the mother would have enough, I mean, are they that unconscious that they would not know that their husband is having a relationship with their daughter?
some of them are genuinely just unaware. It's hidden very well. Most of the time, actually, what I find is those moms were abused. They were abused.
Okay.
And so they kind of turn a blind eye to it. I've even had numerous, countless moms that were kind of in the, they are abused as well in the, so their relationship with the dad, the husband, it would be their husband, is abusive. And so they have really low self-esteem, they have low self-efficacy, self-worth. They can't leave the dad because they don't think that they will make it. So they kind of turn a blind eye to it. That has
Okay.
happened countless times. Yeah.
And that's the dynamic. I kind of, even I energetically feel that dynamic, that the mother is actually somebody that has a very low self-esteem. And some of the mothers that I know, where the father has abused the daughter, is the mother has been a very mother or stepmother has been a very disciplinarian, verbally and physically abusive. So it has been like a very strong woman on the outside, but I feel that's just an outward facade. Inwardly, they don't have any self-esteem, and in being that abusive, I feel they may withdraw, like how women used to use that as a weapon. Okay, I won't have any sex with you today. You made me mad. I'm not gonna have sex with you. So the man, if he has a lot of that hedonistic sexual desire, then will move what is most accessible to me, right? And they don't want to go to a prostitute. They don't want to have a relationship outside of their marriage. Maybe the religious culture tells them you cannot have a relationship outside of the marriage, right? You cannot have an affair. You cannot, they're not able to have a relationship with any other woman. And here's the daughter that's available. So where are they going to take out this hedonistic, what Eckhart calls egoic wanting? They have, like, you're stuck in your energy center 1, and you are like being pulled by that desire, 1 and 2, and you're being pulled by the desire of your physical, the sexual desire, right?
I mean, that could be a factor too. Usually it's like the wire crossing thing, because for a person, that has healthy boundaries, healthy mind, it's not fathomable. It's like, it's not something you would even consider. So
Mhm.
there still usually is some sort of wire crossing or some sort of abuse that they have suffered. It could be a little bit in that context, a little bit of a cultural thing where women just don't have that much right, or, so I mean, there's just so many factors that play into it. The main thing is, if you have those beliefs, so she has that belief, I am unprotected, it's important to go in and look at that belief, because maybe in your family you don't perhaps still feel protected, but you always have source. You always have source. So working on, and because if we're abused by our parents, they get a godlike persona, so we usually project that onto source. If our parents weren't there, if my parents don't love me, then God must not love me. So it's important to work on that and change that part of it.
Thank you for that pointer. And then I'm also listening to her book, Carolyn Mace's book on sacred contracts. So she does say that all these are contracts, right? Like our soul would have chosen a lesson and said, and the way Carolyn Mace explains in Sacred contracts is, it's not like this person is somebody, we end up saying, I hate my mother or I hate my father as a child, right? Because of what they're doing. You kind of say, I hate but actually the soul group that you're with, that is giving you lessons for the sacred contract, is at the cosmic level actually a very loving, they have that unconditional love, and they've taken birth here to actually, out of love for you, to present you the lesson and experience. They are being born, and you're okay with it. Like in the non-physical realm, you know that contract is coming, right? Like that's what you've signed up for. So do you want to say something about that? And then I'll go to Michelle. Thank you.
So that's where when I was really starting to try to dig into this, I listened to Wayne Dyer, like everything I could find on Wayne Dyer. And he is the one that, and Eckhart too, but Wayne Dyer is the one where I really was able to take all of those abuses that I had suffered, and it's pretty much every kind of abuse you could think of, and really look at it from that soul level perspective and see, oh, I had to go through all this abuse, and this abuse. Now, not everybody ends up on the spiritual path. Not everybody ends up trying to work on themselves and trying to heal. But that is what we're supposed to do. And when I could look at all the people in my life and all the things that happened, and I could see the purpose behind it, when I could see how that put me on the spiritual path and that put me on the learning and the soul journey, that is when you can actually have forgiveness. Because you can, if you literally look at it like a movie, and each person is a character in a movie, they're playing their role perfectly, literally. Oh, my dad was perfectly angry and abusive, so that one, I could stand back from a distance and judge what was going to happen. That was psychic ability 101, right? I had to go inside and feel what I was feeling. I had to listen to myself to judge what was going to happen next. You have to do that on this spiritual journey. You have to learn to go inside and listen to yourself. So it's called flipping it. When you can actually look at it from a soul perspective and see how it is perfectly played out, then that's when, for me, that's when you get true healing. And that is when you can look back at these scenarios and you don't have pain. It doesn't mean I like
I totally agree.
You don't actually have pain anymore, because you can see the grander purpose, the real meaning. And I actually have a lot of empathy for my father and other people too, but I actually have a lot of empathy for him and love for him. I can see his suffering, but I can also see how everything that I went through played perfectly into where I am today.
Beautiful. You're incredibly amazing. So grateful. Thank you. Yeah, I feel exactly the same as you, people. Like I wouldn't know Dr. Joe's teachings and be at the level that I am in my spiritual progress if all the things exactly didn't happen. Yes, they may have been violations and they may have been whatever happened to me, but they needed to happen exactly the way they happened. So it always unfolds. I mean, in this dimension, maybe in another dimension, I'm doing something different, right? Since we are multidimensional beings. I don't know in another dimension what that Poonam is doing in the infinite dimensions, what these infinite Poonams are doing. But in this dimension, I know it needed to unfold exactly the way it is. I hope you take micro C and zinc, because that's what Patricia did when there was smoke in New York. She
Yeah,
took all of it.
I'm definitely taking it. It's very, like I said, surreal. It's very, I mean, these fires have been going on for months and it's just now here, and it's just very, but it is very thick and you can definitely smell it
Yeah.
and feel it.
Anthony Williams did like a whole episode on it, and he said the immune system goes down when we inhale that smoke. So if anybody's in an area where there's smoke, then build up your immune system. So, and when you posted that this morning, April, I went outside. I was drinking my celery juice, and I went outside in the patio. I looked up at the sky, and I was like, I am so grateful for a blue sky.
Yes,
I am
yes.
so grateful.
Yeah.
It brought
It
a
seems it seems to be clearing up a little bit here, but it's still very hazy. And I thought the same thing for a moment when I thought we just don't know, do we, until
until it becomes gray,
yeah.
right? That you want a blue sky. Thank you. Michelle, did you want to say something about this and anything that April has talked about? If you have any questions, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic, and I guess it could be applied across the board to any of our difficult lessons that we go through, right? But I would imagine, I mean, that's not my experience in this life. It's not something I was exposed to. But I would imagine in this dimension, in order to get through the healing, you have to process that suffering, that grief, right? That injustice on the human level. Like, we don't excuse it away and not try to treat, and counsel, right, the perpetrators, right? I mean, I know that a lot of these cases, even if and maybe I'm wrong, but I remember hearing at one point that they can go through counseling and psychotherapy, and sometimes they cannot be cured of that addiction. I don't know if that's still, if I'm right, April, if, because on the level of the form,
So
you don't want to
there are
excuse it, right?
we're not excusing it. It's not about excusing it or not dealing with it or spiritual bypassing it. Spiritual
Right.
bypassing is when you just say, "Oh, I'm a being, la la la." No, you are a human. You have emotions. You do have to process it in some way or form, whether that's through crying or meditation or exercise or counseling or whatever. You still got to process it. So we are not excusing it. We are understanding it. And by understanding it, you can then separate yourself from it. So when I understand, oh, that person was abused. That person was abused for several years. So then they abused me. Oh, I get that. I'm not excusing them, but I can understand that. Now, as far as treatment, there are several treatments for it for people who have that true issue of sex offenders, child sex offenders. And I can tell you that I have seen a few of them where I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's in the realm of one of the treatments we call DBT. And what it does is they literally reprogram their brains to where anything that is remotely associated with, for example, like if they liked children, anything that was remotely associated with children, they would reprogram. And I've watched them do this. They reprogram their brains. And as you're having the conversation with them, you can literally see their mind stop and go, I'm good. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep going with like they literally, it's a strict reprogramming. And I have seen that in a few people. For many people, if they don't go through such a program, then it is not something that is curable. They will always, because again, it's a wiring issue.
I had a question, April. Is it almost like what I feel? Another thing that works itself out is this person is getting older. I feel older men that's why we see so many relationships in movie stars where there's a 60-year-old movie star, but they are having a relationship with a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old woman. The age gap is pretty wide, right? It almost is like they're getting old, so they're getting close to their mortality. So they kind of prey on somebody that's young to almost energetically get that youth, that feeling of youth. Does
No,
that make sense?
I mean, that could be a possibility. I think for the famous people, it's more about money than it is anything. You know, this young, beautiful girl can go around the world with this, or vice versa, you know.
But sometimes it's genuine as well, right? Like,
Yeah, sometimes they are genuine. It can be a genuine thing. You know, especially if the two people perhaps had a lifetime together, another lifetime together, and they
mhm.
come together, but there's a huge age gap. There will be that attraction, because they have known each other in other lifetimes. But so there are some programs that do work. I have seen a few of these people, but their brains are, I almost want to say like it's like a military type, like their brains are rewired and they are reprogrammed. Um, so it is something that's possible. Okay, but we're not excusing it and we're not saying it's okay. Um, where we are looking at it from source view.
Perfect. Thank you, April. Michelle, you can go ahead. Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, that's what I thought. Yeah, I can empathize with the condition patterns and generational trauma, right? That continues the cycle, right, of abuse, right? And so I guess that helps you bring some empathy and separation. But I mean, I would imagine as a victim, it would take you a while to get there, right? And then you can see how it served you, right? You always, what is it that bless your past for it's, if you're on the spiritual path and you bless all your lessons because it's brought you to this awareness, right? So we can bring gratitude for the lessons learned, not necessarily for the action, because obviously, but through that, it's like you're burning Shiva's burning away, right? So that you're able to get to the other side and at the same time have compassion and empathy for the perpetrator. I mean, there's a lot to be said for forgiveness, right? And then you just unshackle those chains of suffering once you're able to do that. But I'm sure it's a long journey. Rightly so, it's not something that, it's a serious topic and we don't want to just, right, from a human perspective, not validate the seriousness of it, right? And then you can take the wider perspective as you grow. And I guess that's what we're all here for, So thank you. Quite interesting.
There was a question, April. Let me post it here. Rakib is asking, what is the program they use to reprogram or rewire these individuals, wiring whom are attracted to these younger individuals? What is the military technique? Is it close to Dr. Joe Dispenza's ways or methods? Thank you, Michelle. Grateful for the input.
No, it's nothing like Dr. Joe's. I don't remember the exact name for it. And it's military type. It's not a military technique. It's a military type brain training. And it is for, I have seen it on clients who are sex offenders. And so when they go to jail for that or prison for that, before they can get out, it is a training they must have. They must complete this. I don't remember the name for it though, but it's connected to our prison systems, our jail systems for offenders.
Is it
So
a
wherever, yeah, it's
is
like
it
a
psychotherapy or is it
Mhm.
brain? When you say DBT, is it like deep brain stimulation where they put wires?
No,
No.
DBT is didactic behavioral therapy.
Okay.
Didactic behavioral therapy is DBT. So it is a type of psychotherapy and it's super intense. It's something they have to complete. Now, I don't know where this person lives and it's different per state. I know that this is what we have in my state. You know, if these people are about to get out, they're done serving their sentence, it is something they have to complete in order to be released.
So it's didactic. Can you do me a favor and put it in the chat, and I'll put it in the Facebook Live chat. Thank you so much, April. Always full of wisdom.
It's didactic behavioral therapy.
Therapy. Got it.
So it's behavioral therapy, right? Because that's what we're wanting to get rid of. So that's why it's called DBT.
Perfect. Thank you. I got it. Grateful for the input. Patricia, did you want to say something about this topic and the question that Danielle had? Thank you.
So much wisdom. I don't know if I can add to it, but yes, it's very complicated, I think. And I heard about a lot of those cases growing up, and I was very disgusted by it, afraid, and I heard a lot of adults being their parents, that they were talking about, sexual offenders and pedophilia and stuff, and especially men saying that they would kill anybody that would do something like that to a child. So there was a lot of that, and I knew that when the grown-ups were talking about it, I felt very scared and uneasy, and maybe that unprotected, but I don't think that it happened to me. I'm not sure totally, because there is, I watched a movie once about a certain situation happened, and the actual daughter blocked. There was 3 daughters, and it happened to each one of them, and one of them ended up very she was an alcoholic, completely messing up her life. The oldest one, I mean, I think she was aware, but she just moved on. And then the youngest one, I think, who was, or maybe the oldest one, I'm sorry that I'm not remembering, but maybe the oldest one was the one that completely blocked it because she was abused for the longest time. And the younger one, because of her rebellious behavior, I think she really wasn't. And then she was kind of pushing for the truth to come up. And mother was completely oblivious. And I think the father was either he got a stroke or he was dead, and they were supposed to show up to his funeral and they didn't want to go. And that's the movie's kind of about the old truth trying to come up. And I remember I was pretty young watching it, and it was disturbing me. But the whole idea of an older one actually psychologically blocking it to the point that she did not remember. So I don't know, I wanted to ask April, she heard about something like that, that someone, is living adult life and can actually block it to the point that absolutely is unaware. So at that point, I had my questions like, was that something like that happened to me and I just blocked it? But I really didn't have enough sign. I mean, my father abused me verbally and he beat me, but I'm not sure about the sexual part. And men, even he made, when I was a teenager, I remember he made very inappropriate comments within the company towards my mother that were grossing me out. But I don't think it was something to do with me, but, and his brother, up to this point, and I really love my uncle. He is actually a very nice man, but you know, right now he's a widower and he is dating, and it's just like he makes comments about even my daughter. It's like, oh, you know, she's going out to get men. She better, you know, this is the time. It's like she made comments that I don't welcome, but I don't know if it's because it's that generation that the guys still really thought of women as, I'm sorry to say that, piece of ass, an object, you know, to possess and to it's like a sexual object, not as much as an actual human being. So yeah, there was a lot of things like that I grew up with, but yeah, I it's hard for me to imagine. Yeah, you do have to have that spiritual understanding and connection, I think, to heal that, because it's it might be overwhelming, you know, being such a little child and confused, in a sense, confuse the love of a parent with inappropriate, you know, sexual abuse. This is like, plus it is so like biologically wrong too, because you know, you're not supposed to have sex with genetically people so close to you because of, so the biology in head, I learned about this thing that if people grow up together, even if they're not related, like something is being blocked in their mind, most of it sexually, that they would not consider each other as a mate, because if they, from a very young age, growing up together, again, even if genetically they're not siblings, they kind of in their heads are like siblings, so they wouldn't get attracted to each other. And if brother and sister are separated and then later on in life they meet, they can actually get attracted to each other if they didn't grow up together. So there is something like that, I think, if I'm not confusing this whole matter. But I love the explanation about Saul's contracts, and that this is just another abuse, that a lesson that we need to heal and transcend. And the worse it is a better maybe lesson, forcing us much more to transcend it and understand we're not the body. That happened because it needed to happen for us to be at a certain level and to forgive, to connect with the on the soul's level, and to understand that, like Eckhart says, and Marianne Williamson, I think, said that it's not saying that we condone it or agree with it. If we have that understanding on a soul level, it's still on that human level a wrong act, but it didn't, the act itself did not do anything to the soul, to the being. And just understanding the suffering in the other person helps you, you know, heal and do so much more to maybe help others go through and, you know, transcend that suffering that they, you know, that was done to them. So
one of the things that I wanted to point out here, Patricia, and to everyone, in this book, Sacred Contracts, the way Carolyn Myss explains this archetype, right? She says the archetype is like on the server, right? Like if you say this predatory behavior is an archetype, there's a server, and each one of us is giving, like we are all connected through our computers to that server, and we are each giving feedback into that archetype as to what are we experiencing with that archetype, right? So if you say, I have the child, and then she said, the victim, saboteur, there's another third archetype. There are 4 archetypes that are in every person. Like the victim, I mean, how much ever I say this person is a victim or this person is acting, all of us have the victim archetype. All of us have the saboteur archetype, right? So what my inner knowing after all the spiritual practices is what I need to send back to, like, if I'm sending back about the information about the predatory behavior in me, I need to erase all the hedonistic activity in me, which can be like with medical medium, right? Because of the medical medium, food was my predatory activity. Like I would want to eat like fried food or something decadent or some piece of cake or piece
You're
of bread.
abusive to your body in a sense.
Right. So that's the predatory behavior was there, right? So I ended it with doing the medical medium protocol. So I'm showing the win over predatory behavior without the DBT, any kind of rewiring or this thing. I'm doing that. The same thing with because of Dr. Joe's meditations and everything, and my meditations, like the sexual thing, it's like reversing that energy, right? It's into euphoria. So that's not there. So each one of us has that win over the victory over the predator is that we end the predatory behavior within us. That's the win. It's not so much as, oh, we need to forgive the other person, or we need to this thing. What we need to send back to source, or we need to send back to that archetype is there's a way to heal it. There's a way to heal the so that we can heal it for every like that. We almost erase that archetype instead of creating that archetype. We almost erase that archetype. And then I'll go to April. I do have a question when after I read the whole thing. There's something that Danielle said, April, she said, after all that, in the end, she also said, however, as a child, we have a right to be protected by adults. That's the limiting belief, right? So if you want to answer Patricia's question, and as well as, we don't have a right, I mean, that's a limiting belief that when we say that we have a right to be protected. So if you remember all that Patricia said, now that we've talked so much, thank you.
So there are hundreds, thousands of people who have these events and they do not remember. It is a defense mechanism of the mind. The mind does block it out because it is too traumatic for the child to remember. And these types of abuse are also where we get like the multiple personality disorders, dissociative disorders. But people can absolutely 100% block it out. They can totally block it out, not have any clue. Usually when I get those people, they will say to me, I kind of feel like something happened. Or when I'm around this certain person, I just feel really uncomfortable, that kind of thing. And then I haven't had any of them actually decide to do hypnosis. I've offered it. If they would like to find out, we could do hypnosis and go back to that space and find out. But none of them actually want to really know. Because again, if they did know and they did bring up those memories, it's extremely painful. So
what do you do to heal? Do they need to heal it, or this is just enough not to remember and it doesn't affect their life?
no, it does. It affects them because the body keeps score. The body, your cells remember. Your cells are intelligent. Your DNA is intelligent. Your psyche does actually know that there's something going on. So what happens is they'll have relationship issues and they won't ever really be able to get to the bottom of them because there's these factors in play behind the scenes. Most people, I can tell you, have just chose not to do it. They've chose not to dig in and find out. So the only thing that I've been able to do is to take them back to, there's a hypnosis process that you can do where I call it going back to the starting point. And you can walk them back to whatever age where the issues started. And it can be different ages for everybody. And you just start healing that child, letting that child know, that they're healed and they were always worthy, that kind of thing. As far as all children have a right to be protected, it could be seen as a limiting belief. If you have that, it could be seen as one if you're going around with, I should have been protected because I was a child. And for the most part, we should protect children. We should do that. But I can see how that could be a limiting belief. Not everybody is really able to understand the concept that the events that you have went through in your life were set up or designed, or it was known that those were going to happen for you to have those experiences and to heal those and to go forward. Most people aren't able to have that view.
But why would it be a limiting belief? It can be a belief, but how does it limit anybody? Protecting children, it's
Because all
biology,
your life,
because
because all your life, like as a 6-year-old, you say, I should, supposing the abuse happened when you were 6. 6-year-old, you're thinking these guys should have protected me, they should have loved me. 7-year-old, so all your life you're moving in life saying people should have protected you, instead of knowing that the protection comes from within. My protection is my connection to source.
but as a human body, I mean, my understanding is like, I mean, each species needs a certain amount of time when they're in care of an adult of that species to give them enough start to life. Like me, each species, I mean, the elephant, it's whatever, and then
But just imagine, Patricia, like if you have that, think of yourself. If you have that limiting belief, you have that belief that people should protect me, then what is the signal you're sending? I'm weak. I need the protection of somebody. Now you're 18. Now you're 24. People should have protected.
At some point it has to stop, but when
no,
like,
but what happened, that's what the whole limiting belief is about, right? That is what conditioned patterns are about. The pattern gets written at childhood itself. That imprint is made, that stamp is put, right? Once that stamp is, once you're stamped with that imprint.
Abusing children is wrong. So that's not a limiting belief that adults should protect. I mean, I protected my child. Why is that
in the context? No, it's in the context that the girl made the statement. It's not that we should not protect children. We should protect children. Anytime you use,
go ahead.
Anytime you use the word, and it's not to say that, you just let things happen to children and you don't step in. And anytime you use the words like should, would, could, those are all expectations, right? We're setting expectations. But in the context that the girl said it, it can be seen as a limiting belief because it's something that ends up haunting her. I expect that I should have been protected. I should have been, and it keeps haunting. So in that perspective, it's a limiting belief. But overall, yes, children need to be protected. And so it's in the matter of
And then the shadow of that statement on April, what I feel is the shadow of it is I'm not, children should have been protected and I was not protected. And now I feel abandoned. These people did not protect me. I'm abandoned. I'm abandoned. I'm abandoned. I'm abandoned. And now you're walking around the world as a 14-year-old, as a 15-year-old, as 18-year-old. I'm abandoned. These people abandoned me. My parents didn't take care of me. They abandoned me. So you're
Judgment.
working with that
Judgment.
abandonment issue.
Judgment comes up, yeah.
So that they are complex things. So Rakib also says, I just want to share that one of the root causes as well is that most men especially get addicted to porn since a young age, preteen and teen, and gradually they get attracted to more perverted sexual content for a higher dopamine dose, and accordingly subconsciously wired their brains to be attracted to more perverted stuff. So to this, I would say then that's the unconsciousness, right? Like they're feeding, that's what they're, everybody needs to understand that when we have these desires, right? Like what I'm talking about, my desire for food and people's desire for sex, you're stuck in energy center too. Because those are earth drivers, 1 and 2 drivers towards earth, right? Earthly pleasures and earthly, you're in that, and they're living out that hedonist archetype. You want to say something about that, April? And then we can wrap up. Thank you.
That is true. That sacral chakra is the chakra for the sexual area. There's also a chakra for relationships, community, and it is a very important chakra. When you are abused, it also affects your root chakra, which is your grounding, your stability. So that one is affected. And then it just kind of proceeds up to there. It also affects the solar plexus, which is where your self-esteem is at, and your self-power. When you are abused, your self-power is taken. So you have to learn to rebuild it. So it affects the whole line. And humans, we get addicted to things very easily. Dopamine is a huge thing in addiction. And for the most part, we're always seeking a new dopamine hit, whether it's that or whether it's a TikTok video or it's, drugs or whatever. So that is something that happens, and that person that wrote that is very, very true. Dopamine is a huge issue. Porn is a huge issue. So the thing to know is that if it's something that has happened to you, to go back and to realize that there was never anything wrong with you as a child, and to try to see if you can make any connections as to why that person would treat you that way. Heal that inner child. Go back in your meditations, take yourself to that child, have a conversation with them. I mean, it's just like if I were to say to you, at any point, if I were to say to you, oh, I was abused, and because of that, I'm worthless. What would you say to me? You would be like, that's insane, right? That why would you think that? So that's what you have to do for yourself. And then working on the chakras is super important. It is a energy balancing system. So I do suggest doing that.
Poonam, I have a question for April
Sure, go ahead, Michelle.
related to
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
April, so like you have these exceptions, right? Like Oprah Winfrey, who was a victim of sexual abuse at a young age, and other stories that come out that, children that are grown up in both parents being highly, highly addictive with drugs, and the children are left fending for themselves. And there's this, like the children are almost the parents, right? But then there's this resiliency that's born out of this experience. I mean, I would imagine, what is it that these exceptions to the rule, right? Where they're not the victim. I mean, I'm sure there is some trauma there, but they're able to like exceed it. It's like almost like a jumping, like a springboard to something amazing in their life. What do you think
So-
that factor is?
So what happens is the resilient child, there are some factors as to like why that happens. So I happen to be one of those resilient children. I had every type of abuse in my life. And you guys are aware, if you've been following this, my brother committed suicide. My brother did not make it, but I made it. So one of the factors is the child's own constitution. I've always had extremely strong will. I think that was done on purpose. I think my soul made sure that I had this really strong thread because I've had, if you just guys just really knew the things that happened in my life, you'd be like, what? It's the most insane things. But yet I still get up every day and I'm like, okay, I'm going again. And I think that my soul made sure that I have that in me. So your own constitution, your own, okay, that's one thing. And then the other factor is I had people that took me when I was a kid. So I had aunts that would take me. I had a grandma before my grandmother was murdered would take me. And that didn't happen with my brother. So I had these other people that were taking me, and I had a couple aunts in particular that were always saying things to me like, you know, you're smart, you know, you're pretty, right? You know, this. And so the studies show that if the child has at least one resilient person in their life, they have one person in their life telling them that they're good, they're smart, they can, they're whatever, that the child makes it. And that can be a neighbor, it could be a basketball coach, it could be anybody. So that's why my advice is always to just look at the child and say, you know, you can do it. Because that is the one thing, that's the one factor where children make it out when they shouldn't make it out. It's usually because they have one person in their life that tells them, gives them that message. So be that one person.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, April. And I wanted to go back to the dopamine hit. It's not just the porn, it also is food, alcohol, shopping. Dr. Joe says,
Absolutely.
Dr. Joe gives this example. He says, I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, because of our lack in incompleteness, what we are doing is we are looking for something external that let me go on a shopping spree. Today, I'm doing $100 shopping spree. Next day, I'm doing a $200 shopping spree. Month later, I'm doing $200 was not enough. Now I'm doing a $500 shopping spree. The next this thing, I'm doing a $5,000 shopping spree. And it's not enough. Like the moment the things come back home, you're done, right? The pleasure of buying things goes away. The same thing with food, right? One day you're eating one slice of pizza. Next day you're eating 2 slices of pizza. Then suddenly you're eating the whole pizza pie, right? It's exactly the
It would
dopamine
be
hit.
great to have some pizza. I can't, I would love to have some pizza. So much gluten in that. So the thing with that is, and that's very true, Poonam, and the thing with that is it's important for people to realize that you know, the human body can get addicted so easily, so very easily, but you have dopamine in your body and you can create your own dopamine. So what we suggest is, and I've done this with myself, when there's times where my energy feels low, or I feel sluggish or slow or whatever, is whenever you complete a task, no matter how small, recognize it. So let's say if I have somebody really depressed, I will say, okay, when you get up in the morning, I want you to be like, okay, I'm up. And then when you get dressed, be like, all right, I got dressed. When you recognize the little tasks that you do, even if it's just simply getting out of bed, that's a dopamine hit. Every time you acknowledge yourself for what you've done, it's a dopamine hit. So you can raise your dopamine naturally. Of course, laughing and exercising and all of that. But for most people, when they're really down, it's too hard to exercise. It's too hard. So every task you do, you go brush your teeth. All right, I brushed my teeth. I got dressed. Okay, those are dopamine hits. Okay.
And actually, the antidote to I think dopamine is related to adrenaline release, right? Like it's this flight.
It's kind of like that, yeah. It's a
Fright
feel good.
freeze mode. It just feels good, but it's not the right kind of chemical to be released. So that's why
It's a pleasure chemical. It's a satisfaction, instant pleasure chemical is what it is.
And so Dr. Joe says do the meditation so that you can release enough oxytocin, which is actually suppresses all the excess adrenaline, excess dopamine. So it's kind of soaks up. So that's what his suggestion is to do his meditations, right? That's why the meditations.
Awesome. Yep.
I guess everyone is pretty quiet. Michelle, do you have any more questions?
Just at the end, Poonam, which ring would you suggest to those people that could have those issues? The ring of fire, which is the, all the concerns, burning up all the issues from the past, or maybe the ring of water. The ring of
I
water.
think just cycle through every one of them so that it balances it out. Just like cycle through all of Dr. Joe's meditations so that your blessings of the energy centers, right? You're stuck in energy center. The victim is stuck because the victim is going to get into victim mode. So they're going to be stuck in energy center too. So the same thing with the perpetrator, they're stuck in it. For everyone, balance your energy centers.
So that
Blessings of the energy centers.
Archetype of the damsel in distress is what center? 1 or 2?
Damsel in distress is security, so 2. I'm not secure enough, right? Security and financial, like our financial issues, right? Our energy center 2.
Is this like new meditations you have, Poonam? Is that what this is?
Mhm.
The rings of fire. There's ring of fire, activating all the fires. Ring of water, ring of air, which
I'll give you the link, April.
it's really do it. It's really they're not long. Each one is like 20 minutes or something, but it's incredible. They're incredible. Thank you, Poonam, for sharing them with us. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Incredibly amazing. This was how I wanted to unfold that people actually heal. The reason why I keep bringing up the topic, it is a very sensitive topic, a trigger. You know, I should have said people will get triggered. But what April said, you know, the amount of healing that we can, I want everyone to be where April is talking about, like, know of your past, but be healed by the past. Like what Michelle was saying, right? Use your past for wisdom, as Dr. J says. And each one was, each lesson that was provided in another video of his forgiveness video. And April loves this topic, or for a title, she says, all of them were angels in disguise. So look at all those people as angels in disguise. The more you look at your perpetrators as angels in disguise, because your lesson was a lesson of forgiveness, a lesson of abandonment, a lesson for surrender, a lesson for gratitude. If you didn't learn all these lessons, then how would we evolve as human beings, right? That's the evolution that we are here for. So with that, it's been like so grateful, eternally grateful to all of you for being here. As Nadia says, thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. Michelle, Patricia, April, Christina, Dave, and everyone online, Rakib and Summer, and everyone else. Much love, many blessings. We meet again
Thank
next
you.
week. Thank you. Happy 4th of
Thank you.
July.
Thank
Happy
you.
You
Independence
too.
Day.
Bye.
Mm.
Bye.
Bye.